Welcome to Reviews That Scare with Jess and Blair. I'm Jess.
I'm Blair.
Blair, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. Yourself?
I am doing very well. We have made it
We have.
to the fourth and final review of the month. I don't know about you, but November has flown by.
It really has, man. It really has.
Coming off of October, which was arguably the busiest month we've ever had during the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
This one, it was just you blink and you missed it. November,
Yeah.
see you later. Of course, it's been sequels month. We've had a lot of fun. And we're finishing up with an interesting one tonight.
Yes, we sure are.
But before we dive into that, what do you say we chat a little bit about some horror news? Blairski, you want to kick this off?
Okay, well, at this point, I'm sure everybody's heard about this. But Melissa Barrera was fired from Scream 7 for some social media posts, which I'm not going to get into any of that. The very next day, Jenna Ortega dropped out of Scream 7, apparently due to scheduling conflicts with her and filming Wednesday season 2 for Netflix.
Yeah.
So what do they do now? What do they do? The rumor has it they are trying to get back Sidney Prescott.
I was going to say that is the $1 million question. And I think you take that $1 million and you give it to Neve Campbell.
Yeah.
Maybe add a couple digits to that first digit of the million. I mean, it's let's face it. I had mentioned this a couple times. Whether or not I'm correct, this is my opinion. I really do think Jenna Ortega was the face of the last film. I think the reason, the last two. Yeah. I think the reason, especially the last one, did so well was because Jenna Ortega was in it. I mean, she had a huge year with Wednesday and then Scream. I mean, she was the it girl, and she was fantastic in Scream. But I feel like her not being in this one, it's what do you do? Do you wait? Do you wait till she's done Wednesday and hope that she joins? Or do you go after Neve Campbell and give her the money that she asked for the last one? And then sweeten the deal, because you're going to have to sweeten the deal.
Yeah. I feel like they're, from what I've read, I feel like that's the route they are trying to go. Yeah. They really want Neve Campbell back. They also want Patrick Dempsey back.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. The movie's obviously going to be delayed at this point, but from also what I've read, it's only going to be delayed by maybe a few months and on with the show.
And let's face it, the writer's strike has been in effect. It's no longer going on, and the actor's strike just came to an end recently. So most every project is delayed at this point. Not necessarily because of casting, but because people are just getting back to work. So it's going to take time. Everything is going to be delayed. So it kind of buys them some time to figure out, okay, what's our next step for the franchise? Do we, pull an audible, go in the complete different direction? I mean, I'm assuming they had the script written.
Yeah, I'm assuming so too.
So that's going to cause, massive rewrites, which hopefully they don't rush through the rewrites if that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's where that's at. So we'll see. We'll keep you guys informed on Scream 7 news as it comes, but wild week for Scream 7, that's for sure.
Big time. Yeah.
My final piece of horror news is that I got to see Thanksgiving, Eli Roth's Thanksgiving in theaters on opening weekend. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely very Eli Roth. There's a lot of great kills, lots of blood and guts, all the fun stuff you'd expect from a good slasher movie. On that note, the Calgary Horror Con has announced their very first guest. His name is Alex Armbruster. He's known mainly as like a stuntman, but he was the man behind The Mask with John Carver and the new Thanksgiving movie, which is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool announcement.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. First of all, good Canadian boy from Vancouver, I believe. So that's great, Canadian ties. But also, I mean, this has been a much talked about movie since it was announced. Plus, the reviews are coming in, and people are really, really loving it. So
fun,
why
man.
not? Like it's and
Fun.
there's going to be a ton of more people announced as guests at Calgary HorrorCon. But I think it's a really fun, and I haven't seen the movie, but I think it's a really fun first name announced.
I feel like you're going to really enjoy the movie when you
I
do
think I
see
will
it.
too. I think I will.
It's
Yeah,
right up your alley, man. It's right up your alley.
absolutely. Yeah.
That is all I
I
got for horror news, man.
I just the only thing I had scream in here as well, but we beat that to death. Just to add on to Eli Roth's Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
had an okay opening weekend. It nearly made back its budget of $15 million back after closing out the weekend with a total of $12.6 million. Not a ton of money, but the reviews are in, and a lot of people seem to really enjoy this one. Currently
Mhm.
holds an 83% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Right
So
on.
that's pretty darn good.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've obviously seen some massive blockbuster horror movies as of recent months, making a ton of money. So this one, I think Eli Roth was probably hoping that it would make a little bit more money.
Mhm.
But I'm sure he's just as stoked that the people who have seen it have really enjoyed it.
People are already asking for a sequel.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see what comes from it. So,
Yeah.
that's all I have for horror news. What do you say we jump right into this week's episode?
Yes,
The
sir.
fourth and final episode of November, aka Sequels Month, goes to 2005's The Devil's Rejects. This one coming in at 1 hour, 47 minutes. Blairski, initial thoughts on the runtime on this one? Yeah.
Little long. Little long.
Not
Bring-
really noticeable until the last,
15, 20 minutes.
yeah, I would even say half hour.
Yeah.
Like, and then it's quite noticeable. This leads us to fun facts. Do you have any fun facts on this one?
So I do. I've got a few things here. As per Wikipedia, this movie is actually considered a black comedy horror film, which I'm not sure I agree with. Maybe in some of the dialogue, but it's definitely to me not any sort of comedy in this movie.
Yeah, and if it is, it's maybe it's not even maybe. If it is going as a comedy, it's a pretty sick sense of humor.
Yeah, no shit. Well said, man. Well said.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Though.
Yeah. Rob Zombie has stated he got his inspiration for this movie from 1967's Bonnie and Clyde, 1969's The Wild Bunch, 1973's Badlands, and finally 1974's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
It obviously, I would say the most recognizable similarity, I would say Texas Chainsaw.
Oh, 100%.
But I'll mention it in likes and dislikes. That final scene, Bonnie and Clyde, it was like visibly the shootout. Bonnie and Clyde, we'll chat about it later.
Sherry Moon Zombie filmed one scene with actor William Forsythe in which she had to cry. I believe it's kind of near the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But because this film was filmed in like handheld documentary style, it actually took them 3 hours just to get that shot. And it affected her so much that she didn't show up for work the next 2 days.
Really?
Just 3 hours of having to cry, really, right?
Kind of an odd choice for her character to cry. But again, we'll get into it in likes and dislikes.
I was thinking that at the time, man.
Yeah.
This film went through the MPAA 8 times before finally landing an NC-17 rating just for the theatrical version.
Yeah.
And then my final fun fact in this movie is it apparently takes place 7 months after the events of House of a Thousand Corpses.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Just to chalk on to your the rating of it, Rob Zombie stated that up until 31, The Devil's Rejects was the hardest movie to cut down to get an R rating.
Mm.
I didn't think 31 was I mean, it was definitely gory, but comparing the two, I would say that Devil's Rejects is by far the more disturbing movie. I would say it's probably his most disturbing movie.
It is. 100% is.
In my opinion. This was the final film of Matthew McGrory, aka Tiny Firefly, He passed away shortly after the film's release, maybe only a couple months. And also due to an ankle injury, the crew had to find a 7'4" stunt double for the opening scene where he's dragging the woman on the ground. 7'4"
and lanky, right?
And lanky, yeah, absolutely. All of the scenes were filmed within one block of each other.
Yeah, okay,
which
cool.
I thought was kind of cool. And then finally, we were chatting about this the other day. We were trying to remember who it was. The woman who gets her car stolen by Captain Spaulding is played by none other than PJ Soles. PJ Soles, of course, played Linda in 1978's classic, iconic Halloween, and Riff Randall in 1979's classic and iconic Rock and Roll High School, starring the Ramones. So cool.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot about it. And then when I noticed her, I was like, oh, of course.
It's a good little cameo.
Absolutely. Pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. Let's talk about the people who made this one. First of all, directed by none other than Rob Zombie. Also directed 2022's The Munsters, 2016's 31, 2012's Lords of Salem, 2007's Halloween, and 2003's House of a Thousand Corpses, just to name a few. This one, of course, written as well by Rob Zombie, also wrote 2007's Halloween and its sequel, Halloween 2.
Stinker.
The Lords of Salem, House of a Thousand Corpses, and 3 from Hell.
Okay.
The last in, I guess, the trilogy of the Firefly family legacy. Starring, holy, do we have a cast here? Sid Haig as Captain Spaulding, aka Cutter, aka Daddy. Also starred in House of a Thousand Corpses, 2015's Bone Tomahawk, Kill Bill Volume 2, 1973's Coffee, and in 1971's Diamonds Are Forever. James Bond, just to name a few. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Pretty cool. Sherry Moon Zombie as Baby, also starred in 2003's House of a Thousand Corpses, 2012's The Lords of Salem, 2007's Halloween, and as the Living Dead Girl for the Rob Zombie music video, Living Dead Girl.
Just everything Rob Zombie made.
Yeah, go figure. Bill Moseley as Otis, also starred in 2019's 3 from Hell, 8 episodes of Carnival, 1990's Night of the Living Dead, 1986's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 as Chop Top, aka Shop Top, aka Shock Top, and in 2013's Texas Chainsaw. Also starring William Forsythe as Sheriff Wydell, also starred in Raising Arizona, 1990's Dick Tracy, and in 1996's The Rock. Also starring Elizabeth Daily, who I believe did the voice of Tommy Pickles in the Rugrats.
The Rugrats, okay.
Also was one of the Powerpuff Girls, so she's a huge voice actress. Danny Trejo, of course.
Yeah.
Diamond Dallas Page, of course. Ken Foree. The list goes on and on and on. Big cast, a lot of cameos in this one. Pretty cool stuff. Synopsis, courtesy of our dear friends at IMDb. The murderous backwoods Firefly family take to the road to escape the vengeful Sheriff Wydell, who is not afraid of being as ruthless as his targets.
It's kind of lame, actually. I hadn't heard or read that before.
It's meh. This leads us to kill count.
Kill count. The time of the show we count the kills.
Blairski, what do we have for a kill count on this one?
All right, so this is another movie where it was quite difficult to count the kills. But after some online research, we have a kill count of 20, which is a pretty high number.
Very high. And that is not including obviously the 75 bodies or remains that were recovered at the Firefly farmhouse.
No, I'm not counting any of that. I'm not counting their previous kills in House of a Thousand Corpses or just this movie alone, 20 kills.
Absolutely. This leads us to one of our favorite segments, likes and dislikes. The portion of the show where we chat about what we liked, what we didn't like, and everything in between. Blairski, Would you like to kick this one off?
Well, I like the set design, especially the farmhouse at the beginning. It's very reminiscent of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I really love that whole vibe I got from the intro of the movie.
Yeah, every kind of room in the house, like it was definitely a house of horror. I
Yeah.
mean, the basement, you got people caged up upstairs. It is a house of horror. And yeah, even the outside of it, the gates leading into the house,
Mhm.
it just is a place that if you saw in real life, you would head in the opposite direction.
100%. They have
Yeah.
like pig heads like hanging on their fence posts and shit.
Yeah.
It's wild, man.
Yeah, the set design was great. Also, the character design, whether they were fully thought out, whether the acting was good, the character design was really, really cool. I
Mhm.
mean, you got Otis, aka Charles Manson.
Yeah,
um,
100%.
and even just
100%.
I love Captain Spaulding, just that evil clown. I mean, he truly is an evil clown.
Mhm.
You know, when I think of evil clowns, a lot of people think Pennywise. I think Pennywise, but I usually go straight to Captain Spaulding, this serial killer evil clown. It's
Yeah.
creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Character design
I
pretty cool.
love Captain Spaulding as a character. Absolutely love him.
Yeah, and Sid Haig as Captain Spaulding is, I mean, he's fantastic.
There could be no
Um,
other one.
We often talk about intros, you and I mean, if a movie gets us within the first 5-10 minutes, we're pretty much hooked. This one was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was.
Obviously with the title cards at the beginning of the movie, instant Texas Chainsaw vibes.
Yeah.
I wrote it down. I know you wrote it down. Did you want to read it?
No, I actually didn't write it down, so please
Okay.
read it. Yeah,
I
please
want to read it just because I thought it was really, really cool. A good lead up.
Yeah.
So it reads, on May 18th, 1978, Sheriff John Quincy Wydell, along with local authorities in Ruggsville County, led a search and destroy mission on a decaying farmhouse. Inside the house, police discovered a collection of diaries and scrapbooks detailing the accounts of more than 75 murders. The family responsible for these brutal crimes was forever to be known as the Devil's Rejects.
It's pretty awesome, man. Like that's a really awesome segue right into the movie. Like it really is.
Absolutely. Honestly, I think that should have been used for the IMDb synopsis. I mean, that's I mean, it doesn't really tell you what happens after the intro, but what a perfect setup for the movie. It's even if you didn't see House of a Thousand Corpses, you instantly are like, okay, these people are not good people.
Yeah, they're psychopaths.
Yeah, absolutely. It also, I mean, it ends with one of the coolest names for a horror movie there is.
Yeah, Devil's Rejects.
The
Love
Devil's Rejects. What a great, great title. I love it. Yeah. Yeah.
Same with House of a Thousand Corpses. I mean, it's pretty unique, man.
Yeah. I mean, those two were strong. Three from Hell.
Meh.
A little lackluster, but yeah, House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects, great titles.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. What else did you like about this one?
Soundtrack. The soundtrack was awesome in this movie. All the songs were good. I loved it. I mean, you'd expect that from Rob Zombie. If I can think back and just remember all of his movies I've watched, I'm pretty sure they all have amazing soundtracks.
Do you mind if I list a couple people on the soundtrack? We got one of my favorites, Muddy Waters, Blind Willie Johnson. We have Shambhala by Three Dog Night, which is a great tune. We have Midnight Rider by the Allman Brothers, which basically ends the intro and is just basically when the Fireflies are escaping the house.
Yeah.
And Midnight Rider comes on by the Allman Brothers. What a great, great song choice. We have Joe Walsh, who, one of the lead guitar players for the Eagles. This is just a super kick-ass soundtrack.
It's really good, man. It's really
strong. Really, really strong. We're big music guys. We love commenting on the music in these movies. One of the stronger soundtracks we've seen so far.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Another thing I really like, man, I like the blood. I like the gore. It is a brutal movie. It is very hard to watch. But the practical effects, like the movie side of it, it's amazing. It is really good. It's very bloody, very gory. Everything looks really good. It does.
Again, as expected, especially after House of a Thousand Corpses. You expect a Rob Zombie movie to be over the top with
Yeah.
blood and violence. This one I had a tough time with. It is at some points overly disturbing.
Yeah.
And it makes you very uncomfortable. And it's some of the stuff is maybe a little bit too far.
The I'm assuming you're talking about the motel scene.
Yeah, among many other scenes, but
Among
the
many other
hotel
scenes.
the hotel scene, whatever, the 20 minutes of hotel scene. Yeah, it was
That's pretty intense.
it was a lot. I had mentioned to you the other day, it felt unnecessary.
Yeah.
The characters at the hotel didn't move the story further in any way. There wasn't a final girl that came out of that scene. The only thing it did was emphasize how sadistic and evil the Firefly family is, but we already knew that. We already knew that.
For the most part, all it was a pastime for Baby and Otis while they waited for Captain Spaulding. They were just waiting on him, and yeah, that whole scene was brutal. I know not a lot, but a good portion of it, at least 2 or 3 minutes of that scene was cut out for the theatrical version. Because I know me and you both watched the unrated.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. It dragged on. It
Mhm.
dragged on, which I think is how it, I would imagine Rob Zombie wanted you to feel it. It dragged on because that's how the characters involved, I'm sure, would be feeling. I have no idea, but you could imagine that they would be saying, when is this going to be over?
Mhm.
And we're thinking the same thing. When is this scene going to be over?
Yeah.
And just when you think it's finally over, it goes.
It's not. Yeah, a little further.
It was a lot. It was a lot. Yeah.
That cart scene with Captain Spaulding. When he steals it. I love that scene so much. The dialogue he has with the kid. It's so funny. I can't remember fully what it is. I don't have it written down for Line of the Night, but it's something along of the lines of, "What's the matter? Don't you like fucking clowns? Aren't we fucking funny?" or something like that.
Yeah.
I love that scene.
The kid shakes his head and he said, "Well, I'm coming back.
Yeah.
And you better figure out why you don't like clown." Like, it's what I like about Sid Haig is he smiles and laughs so much in this movie. He does so much acting with his eyes.
Yeah.
And he's just, it is terrifying.
It's a very menacing look. Very menacing look.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I like that scene so much. I actually wrote it down in my likes. Also the scene with Michael Berryman when he's being accused of fucking a chicken.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that scene so much. I found it so funny, man. I found that scene really funny. The dialogue, this is going to be a dislike, but the writing in this movie sucks. The script
It's not great.
It's not good. But there's a lot of just one-liners. And that scene, there's more one-liners from certain characters in particular, like Captain Spaulding and Otis.
Yeah.
But that one scene, the chicken fucking scene, was just filled with one-liners, and it made me laugh my ass off, man. So good.
Yeah, honestly, like you were saying, this movie is basically just a ton of one-liners.
Yeah.
Connected by boring, repetitive dialogue.
Yeah.
It felt like maybe a lot of
Yeah.
this was improvised.
Mhm.
And not very well, unfortunately. At the same time, though, I mean, I just keep coming back to Bill Moseley and Sid Haig, who,
Mhm.
in my opinion, really saved this movie. I mean, Bill Moseley is, as Otis, is one of the most disgusting, vile characters there is. And
Yeah.
he just, like, he commits to it 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
I mean,
so
he
good.
is evil, which is what you want in a villain, you know?
He's so good, man.
His one-liners, I mean, he's got some great one-liners. I'm sure we'll get to it in Line of the Nights, but yeah, I thought the dialogue was a little bit boring. I'm not the craziest Sherry Moon Zombie fan.
No.
I mean,
she's okay. She's okay.
She's okay. The character was great. It's just, it's tough. I mean, when she's in a scene with Sid Haig and with Bill Moseley, it's hard to compare the three. She's all right. She's all right.
I found she was better. I actually liked her character better. Not sure about acting, but I like the character better in House of a Thousand Corpses than I did in The Devil's Rejects.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting with these characters too, is there, you don't see it throughout the whole movie, but there's almost a sense of desperation with these characters that you don't necessarily get in House of a Thousand Corpses. You know, this whole movie, they are on the run.
Exactly.
Within the first 2 minutes, they are on the run all the way till the end of the movie.
Yeah.
They're on the run. So it's, even though you don't see it often, and even though they would never admit it, it's almost as if they're looking over their shoulder. They're waiting to meet their maker, you know?
Panicking a little bit. Yeah. In House of a Thousand Corpses, they were, chilling at home, killing people at will.
Yeah.
Totally different scenario. I think they had a cop show up once, and that's who they killed, which is what Devil's Rejects is based off of, the revenge from the brother of that cop. But
yeah, absolutely. Now, we had mentioned that it was a little bit of a slow burn.
Yeah.
Let's maybe briefly talk about the last 30 minutes. It's one of the downsides I have on this movie. I just felt like it was a little bit boring, minus the last 2 minutes, the Bonnie and Clyde, Leonard Skinner shootout, which I thought was great. But up until then, I kind of felt like it was, they were losing me a little bit.
Basically, the night they're just partying.
Yeah.
They're at that ranch, partying all night, and yeah, just from that point on, I didn't care, man. I really didn't care, and I knew exactly what was going to happen. Like I not that I hadn't seen, like obviously I've seen the movie before, but it's just predictable what's going to happen. Like it is.
Even the taking back to the Firefly farmhouse. I just, even though the characters are desperate, and we had mentioned that, baby is crying, and I don't know if that was the right choice. These characters are not human, and crying is such a human reaction. It felt off. It didn't feel genuine, just because, I mean, like I said, it is such a human reaction, and these characters are not that. They're opposite of human. They're inhuman,
Well, I feel like in that last half an hour, it was almost trying to make you feel for them, like be on their side, like, feel sympathy for them. And
right.
I didn't really get that, because these people are freaking brutal, man.
Yeah. It's throughout the whole movie, and the last movie, and the following movie as well. Yeah. What else did you like or not like about this one?
Okay, well, I'm going to go with my last like I have written down, is that I just love the fact Danny Trejo, Bill Moseley, Diamond Dallas Page, Sid Haig, and Michael Berryman are all in the same freaking movie.
Yeah.
Love it, man. I love it so much. That's my kind of horror movie right there, right? So,
and it's obviously, I mean, if you've ever seen a Rob Zombie movie, or if you've seen 2 or 3, that he has his troupe.
Yeah, he does.
Rob Zombie loves to use the same actors over and over again, and rightfully so. I mean, if you have actors that will get the point across, that they do really well with the characters, and they're easy to work with, and you enjoy working with them, perfect. And clearly he's found his island of misfit toys, because he uses the same actors in everything. But they work.
Call them Rob Zombie's boys and gal.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when we went to HorrorCon, they were Rob Zombie's boys.
Rob Zombie's boys. Yeah,
absolutely. What do you say we move right along?
Yeah, let's do it, man. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to our next favorite segment. which is Lessons We Learned from Watching 2005's The Devil's Rejects.
Lessons we learned from watching. Insert title of movie here.
The segment of the show where we talk about the valuable life lessons we learned from watching said movie. Blairski, did you learn anything from watching The Devil's Rejects?
I got two things here. I learned that famous people are so much better than the real thing.
Yeah.
As per Baby Firefly, but I'm still trying to figure out what exactly that really means. No idea.
Yeah.
Final thing I learned is just watch what you say about Elvis Aaron Presley, because you never know who you might piss off.
Yeah, absolutely. Elvis was in Hollywood.
He was in Hollywood.
I've got a couple here. Danny Trejo is fantastic, no matter how big or how small his parts are.
Mhm.
Danny Trejo is great.
Mhm.
Yeah, big fan. Rob Zombie loves to reuse actors.
Mhm.
Again, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Don't fix it.
And they work for his movies. And then finally, if you're in a van with 3 people and 2 of those people want to stop and get Tutti fucking fruity ice cream, you pull over and you get some Tutti fucking fruity ice cream. Tutti fucking fruity.
Tutti fucking fruity, buddy. Tutti fucking fruity.
Those are the lessons that I learned. Let's move right along to our next segment, Line of the Night.
Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night.
The segment of the show where we discuss our favorite lines from the movie. They might give us chills. They might give us the giggles. All we know is that they are our favorites. Blairski, please tell me you got some lines.
I got a few, and the first one I'm going to go with is Tutti fucking fruity.
Tutti fucking fruity.
Which
Good
was
one.
said by Baby and Captain Spaulding. I'm not sure if Otis said it, but great line. Great line.
I believe Otis refused to say it.
Yeah, he didn't even want the ice cream.
Nope.
Couldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
Next line said by Otis, I am the devil and I'm here to do the devil's work.
It's a terrifying line. And to my
Very
understanding
terrifying.
from reading Helter Skelter, this was a line that Tex Watson, one of the murderers in the the Tate La Bianca murders.
Okay. Yeah.
Those were it was one of the lines that he said during the murders. Awful stuff.
Horrible. I did know it was definitely affiliated with Charles Manson some way or another.
Yeah, awful.
The next word that comes out of your mouth better be some brilliant fucking Mark Twain shit, because it's definitely getting chiseled on your tombstone. Also said by Otto in the exact same scene.
It's a pretty intense line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one. I had that one written down as well. Yeah.
2 more. I set my standards pretty low, so I'm never disappointed. As said by Otis.
Yep.
And then finally, my last line of the night is there ain't no bullets in this thing. It's all fucking mind power. As said by Baby, which is a pretty good line because it's just such a trip.
Absolutely. And it just shows how much power these characters have over anyone. You know, we had very similar lines, so I'm just going to add 2 here. Mother Firefly says, Sheriff, you found yourself into something you ain't never getting out of. I thought that was pretty cool. And then finally, Sheriff Wydell, with one of the first lines of the movie, says, Mr. Dobson, it's time for us to do what the good Lord would refer to as a cleansing of the wicked, and what my brother George, God rest his soul, used to call 100% Alabama ass kicking.
That's a great line, though.
It's a fantastic line. Yeah, really, really strong line. Yeah. This leads to our final segment of the show, our favorite segment of the show.
Some might say.
Celebrity Lookalike Time.
Celebrity lookalike time.
the time of the show where we take a look at the cast and discuss their celebrity doppelgangers. Ugh. Spoiler alert. It usually comes down to the character's hairstyle Blairski.
Yes, sir.
Kick this one off, will you?
All right. So this movie was hard for celebrity lookalike for me. Everybody just was kind of unique to themselves. Like no one really looked like Danny Trejo except Danny Trejo.
Yeah.
But I do have two long shots I'm going to go with. So the character of Roy Sullivan reminded me of the character Bill from the cartoon King of the Hill.
Okay.
And I'm not sure the character's name, but it was the guy with the weird split mustache who was overly excited about the Marx Brothers.
Yeah, his name was Marty Walker.
Okay, Marty Walker. He reminded me exactly of what he's all about, which is Groucho Marx.
Yeah.
He also reminded me of the bad guy from the Sonic the Hedgehog video games. And
Dr. Robotnik.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a very goofy mustache.
Yeah, very much.
I'm going to just pick up where you left off. I was really struggling to find a celebrity lookalike time. And then I showed a picture of Robert Trevor, who played Marty Walker, to my wife. And she said, "Hey, it's the Pringles guy."
Yeah, okay. I see
it looks like the guy on the Pringles can, but also he looks like Wario.
Okay, he does look like Wario too.
Yeah. Lou Temple, who played Adam Banjo, one of the musicians in the band at the motel, reminded me of rock and roll guitarist and founder of legendary rock band the Allman Brothers, Skydog, aka Dwayne Allman.
Okay, I might have to Google that. I can't picture it, but
it's the long hair, it's the mustache, it's Midnight Rider.
All right.
And then finally, David Sheridan, who played Officer Ray Dobson, looked like one of the three Beastie Boys in the Sabotage music video.
One of the three.
Yeah, he's got any of them. Take your pick. He's got the sideburns. He's got the 1970s haircut. He's got the aviators.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sabotage. This leads us to our final rating. For 2005's The Devil's Rejects, Blairski, out of 5 Groucho Marx aliases, what do you give The Devil's Rejects?
I'm going to be giving The Devil's Rejects 3 Groucho Marx aliases out of 5.
Agreed. I am also going to be giving it 3 Groucho Marx aliases out of 5.
Yeah.
I think you and I can agree that House of a Thousand Corpses is better.
Yeah. It's my favorite of the 3.
Yeah,
for sure. Followed by Devil's Rejects and then 3 from Hell. Just
100%. And they're 3 very different movies. This one had some great scenes, some great one-liners, but kind of overshadowed by a runtime and one disturbing scene in particular that seemed to never end.
I didn't fully mind that scene. I mean, it was hard to watch, but for me, what really took me away is just that last half hour or so. It just dragged. It just kept dragging. Just there's so much drag in this.
You were constantly saying, "Get on with it."
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
let's move it along. Yeah,
100%.
Once you see the Fireflies week, let's get on with it.
I know. That being said, we still obviously enjoyed it. We both gave it a 3. So
yeah, fun movie. It's not the first time we've watched it, and it's certainly not the last. But we made it. We made it through the month of November. It was a fun month. I'm excited for next month. But until then, this has been Reviews That Scare with Jess and Blair. I'm Jess.
I'm Blair. Remember to stay scary.
And eat every sandwich. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to Reviews That Scare. Make sure you check out our Linktree at linktree/Reviews That Scare. That's linktr.ee/Reviews That Scare, which has links to our Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, Twitch, and many other things. If you'd like to email us, you can reach us at reviewsthatScare@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and remember to stay scary and eat every sandwich. A proud member of Pod Nation TV.